Welcome to the Wealth Dialogue. I'm Emily.
And I'm Jack.
We all know that feeling. It's the moment your direct deposit hits the bank, and for, 30 seconds, you feel rich.
For about 30 seconds, yeah.
Then, immediately, the automated withdrawals start. The rent, the car payment, the credit cards, and suddenly all that money is just gone.
It's swallowed whole, and before you've even had time to exhale, you're looking at a tiny balance, thinking, how am I going to make it 2 more weeks?
That constant anxiety, that treadmill of living paycheck to paycheck, it's not just a financial state, is it? It's a huge psychological burden.
It really is. And our sources confirm this cycle traps people, not just because of low income, but because of a specific set of behaviors and, well, a profound lack of financial structure.
And that is exactly why we're doing this deep dive. Our mission today is to distill that psychological turning point and the critical, practical actions you need to shatter that loop.
Right. We're moving past motivation. Motivation fades.
Always. We're focusing entirely on the set and forget systems that create genuine, lasting financial control. We've synthesized a lot of material on this, really trying to pinpoint the true nature of the problem.
And then provide the scaffolding to stop the cycle for good. It's about turning that wish for stability into a predictable reality.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think we should start with the biggest assumption people make, the one that causes so much guilt.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
If you're living paycheck to paycheck, the default belief, the thing you tell yourself is, I just don't earn enough money.
The answer must be a raise or a second job.
Right.
But that assumption, while it feels true, the sources we looked at tell a much more nuanced story. I mean, sure, more income helps.
Of course.
But it often just elevates the ceiling of the problem. It doesn't fix the underlying foundation. The root issue is frequently not the income amount, but the profound lack of structure surrounding that income.
So it's not strictly an income problem, it's an architecture problem, a failure of the plumbing, so to speak.
Precisely. The core problem is one of awareness. It's a cash flow issue.
What do you mean by that, a cash flow issue?
I mean, the velocity of money is high and the visibility is zero. Money comes in and it just immediately rushes out without any planned destination in between.
There are no jobs assigned to the dollars.
Exactly. It's a lack of defined roles for every dollar that arrives.
I find this point so important because it reframes the challenge. If you believe the problem is purely income, you feel powerless. You can't just snap your fingers and change your salary.
But if the problem is a lack of structure,
that's something you can build, starting today.
That is the critical mindset shift. The aha moment happens when people are forced to see the full, brutal, honest picture of their cash flow. They realize they've been sort of outsourcing control of their finances to banks, to billing systems, to their own immediate whims.
Once they gain that visibility, they realize the power they weren't using. But structure sounds intimidating. We know people resist that step, even if they know they need it. So that brings us to the emotional side. What actually triggers the willingness to break the cycle? What forces that moment of honesty?
Well, the sources are really clear on this. The structural change is always preceded by an emotional kind of gut punch realization.
Okay.
It's the moment a person finally admits they genuinely, they could not name where their last full paycheck went. They earned it, they worked for it, and it vanished without a trace.
Wow.
Often in small, forgettable little chunks.
That silence, that realization of just pure ignorance about your own money.
Yeah.
That's got to be crushing. You spend 40, 50 hours a week trading your life for that resource, and then you realize you treated it with less respect than your phone charger.
You put yourself on financial autopilot. It's the realization that you're working for money that you don't actually control, and that hits hard.
I'll bet.
But this moment of internal honesty is powerful because it's the birthplace of agency. You can't possibly fix a hole you refuse to acknowledge exists.
That's where the friction starts, though, because facing that truth, seeing where the money actually went, can be genuinely embarrassing. I mean, what if it all went to fast food or things you don't even remember buying? Why is that pain so necessary?
Because that pain forces immediate action. The sources are clear on this. The immediate, non-negotiable action that follows is sitting down and creating absolute transparency.
Okay.
You have to list every single expense, even the uncomfortable ones, for the last 30 days. You have to face the truth and assign a name to every dollar that has escaped.
So control doesn't begin with a budget. It begins with an audit.
Yes. It begins with data collection, not aspiration. You cannot move forward until you understand the historical data. The tendency is to jump straight to, cutting out lattes.
The classic example.
Right. But if 80% of your money is actually going to housing and transport, cutting lattes won't solve the problem. Full visibility is the first, most uncomfortable, and most essential step.
That reframes it from feeling guilty about spending to feeling powerful because you now hold the keys, you have the data. But sitting down and tracking is still work. How do we translate that awareness into a physical barrier between us and poor decisions?
We immediately establish what the sources call financial breathing room.
Let's focus on that phrase. That implies a huge psychological benefit, not just a numerical one.
It really does. The single most effective, immediate, high-impact action is building a small cash buffer. And the sources specifically say that even a modest amount, like $500 saved in a separate account, fundamentally changes the landscape.
Why $500 specifically? That's not a full emergency fund. What makes that small amount such a game changer?
It acts as a safety valve, a shock absorber against the minor, inevitable emergencies of life. Think about it. The average minor emergency, a sudden copay, an unexpected car repair, it often falls right around that $300 to $500 mark.
And if you don't have that $500, what happens?
Well, you have two choices, right? You either skip the expense and create a bigger crisis down the line.
Don't fix the car, miss the doctor.
Or you instantly reach for a high-interest credit card, and that plunges you right back into debt, just days after getting paid. That debt immediately restarts the cycle.
That's the real trap. That $500 isn't just covering the flat tire, it's stopping the panic decision that leads to months of high-interest payments. It's a buffer against cognitive load, too.
Exactly. You don't spend 48 hours stressing about whether you can afford to fix the car. You just fix it. It gives you the mental space to make a rational choice, not a frantic one. That's the breathing room.
Okay, so we have the realization and we have the buffer. Now, the big problem, motivation. A lot of people feel super energized after that honesty moment. They vow to change, they track everything for 3 days, and then life happens.
And it all falls apart.
We know relying on motivation is a recipe for failure. How do we make sure these changes actually stick?
We shift entirely from the ephemeral nature of motivation to the predictability of systems.
Systems over motivation?
All the way. Motivation requires effort every single day. Systems run in the background. The goal is to install financial scaffolding that makes the right behavior saving the default behavior.
That's a great principle from behavioral science, right? Reduce the friction for the action you want to take. If I have to log in every Tuesday and manually move $100 to savings, I'm going to miss a few weeks.
And that failure breeds shame, which causes you to give up. By automating, you remove the friction. This is why the sources stress 3 key systems to take emotion out of your money decisions.
What's the first one?
Automatic transfers. You treat your savings like a non-negotiable bill. The moment the paycheck hits, the money for your buffer or goals automatically transfers to a separate account. You're paying future you first.
So the money you see in your main checking account is the only money you have permission to spend.
That's it. It's genius because it forces you to budget with the reduced amount. As the savings become invisible.
Okay, what's the second system?
Bill automation. Setting up recurring payments so you're never late, you never get a fee. Late fees are just pure financial friction. They erode your buffer and restart the stress. This system gives you peace of mind.
And the third?
Spending limits and account separation. This means setting firm boundaries on discretionary spending. A lot of people find success by separating their money into different accounts, one for bills, one for savings, and one for fun.
And once the fun money account is empty,
spending stops. No questions asked. The system turns an abstract goal into a concrete boundary.
That's the critical shift. Moving from trying to feel disciplined to just being systematic, where the no is already built into the architecture of your accounts.
It's the difference between relying on willpower, which is a finite resource, and relying on default settings.
Okay, let's synthesize all this. Let's build a clear blueprint. We're going to deliver the 6 practical steps drawn from the sources that you can implement today.
This is the checklist that transitioned you from being a passive recipient of cash flow to an active manager of your resources.
Step 1.
Track every dollar for 30 days. This is that honesty moment. Use an app, a spreadsheet, a notebook, whatever. The tool doesn't matter, but the transparency is mandatory.
Step 2.
Pay yourself first. This is the immediate enforcement of the savings habit. Even if you start with $50 a paycheck, the goal is to create the systemic habit of diverting money before it touches your spending account.
Step 3.
Build that $500 starter emergency fund. This is your non-negotiable breathing room. It sits between you and high-interest debt, protecting your peace of mind.
Step 4.
Automate bills and savings. This is installing the scaffolding. Take the conscious effort out of the equation.
Step 5.
Cap your lifestyle spending. You have to look at your 30-day tracking data. Identify your true discretionary spending, dining out, entertainment, and set a firm, realistic limit. And treat that limit as seriously as your rent.
And step 6, which I think is key for reversing behavioral patterns.
Yes. Use cash or debit for daily expenses.
Why is that last point so specific? A lot of sources praise the convenience of credit cards.
Because credit cards decouple the pain of spending from the act of spending. Using cash or debit forces a direct physical link between the action and the immediate depletion of your funds. It's a powerful psychological deterrent.
It makes you feel the transaction again.
It helps rebuild that crucial emotional connection to your money.
So these 6 simple steps, they're about installing small, immediate controls that have a huge impact over time, building a wall against financial stress brick by brick.
And this structure works, even for people who believe their income was the problem. Let me share the example of Lisa.
Yes, the case study always makes it real.
So Lisa was a classic case. She had a very good 6-figure salary, but she consistently ran out of money before her next payday. She wasn't living extravagantly, but she had zero visibility and zero separation between her accounts.
So she was a high-earning cash flow victim.
Absolutely. Her breakthrough came not from a raise, but from realizing she needed to implement friction and automation. So she did step 2 immediately. She automated a significant savings transfer that happened before any other spending could occur.
She treated it like a mandatory tax.
A tax levied by future Lisa, exactly. She removed the opportunity for error.
And the result?
It was rapid. Because she couldn't touch that money, it was gone before she even saw it, she quickly adjusted her daily habits to fit the smaller pool of funds left over. Within 3 months, she had her $500 breathing room.
Wow.
Which then grew into her first real emergency fund. That single systemic action ended her paycheck-to-paycheck life. It proved that control is about architecture, not just attitude.
Proof that structure truly beats stress. You don't need a pay raise to gain control. You need a system that removes the need for constant, exhausting willpower.
It's the application of structure, not just the acquisition of more money, that makes the change possible.
So as we close this deep dive, the essential takeaway is that breaking the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle is a fundamental transition. It's about moving from emotional, reactive spending to systemic, proactive control.
And that control begins with that moment of absolute awareness about where your money is actually going.
And that awareness has to lead to action.
It has to lead to automated action. Financial freedom starts with one honest moment, and it's sustained by the systems you build right after.
This raises an important question for you, the listener, to really consider. If a $500 buffer can fundamentally change your control over your money and end the panic cycle, what single small automation, not a massive budget overhaul, but one simple automatic transfer could you implement today to start that honest moment and create your own financial breathing room?
Think about that single first step.
And let the system do the rest of the work.